Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Unless you act on the knowledge you have gained, it is useless. Yo, this is BNS and I interview world-class experts on health and mindset and read hundreds of books on personal development, health, psychology, etc. so that I can share the information I learned with as many people as possible. There are hundreds and thousands of books and millions of videos on the internet that people can watch daily. But why many lives are not transforming as we expected? Because it is not about learning but about implementing. Philosophy. Many people take philosophy the wrong way and they think that they have to have some theories and they have to have some ideas so that they can verbally say so many things and they just show off their knowledge. But that is not philosophy is. The philosopher is a lover of wisdom. Do you know that the Greek philosophers, the Stoics from thousands of years back were all active and always implemented the lessons that they have learned? For example, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor from 2000 years ago, was a hunter. I learned this from Rand Holiday and he said that there was an elite Stoic who was a distance runner and there were other philosophers who were boxers because they always know that philosophy is not something that's there here but in action. So they were all physically active, they were implementing what they are learning. So don't call yourself as philosopher until you implement the things you know. So this is what differentiates you from a librarian. I interviewed Donald Robertson on my channel BNS Goku Great. He's the best-selling author of the book The Philosophy of Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, where he gave the distinction between a librarian and a warrior. Librarian collects lots of books and sometimes reads too, but that is what differentiates a warrior from a librarian. Librarian just collects the knowledge, but a warrior implements it on the battlefield of life. It's so funny that there's a word called spiritual farts. Do you know that? I learned this word from a book called Spiritual Liberation by Michael Bernard Beckwith. I'll read a paragraph from that book and you will understand what a spiritual fart is. To agree with the keys described here is one thing. To practice them is another. To read and study and have conversations about spiritual practices is good, but unless you incorporate them into your life, you won't embody or integrate them, which means you aren't receiving their benefits. Ask yourself, how can I now move from theory into practice? This is the sentence I love, which you will also love. If you merely collect spiritual information without practicing it, all you will develop is a case of spiritual indigestion and constipation, and that is what leads to spiritual farts. So I have a question for you. What's one thing you know but you're not implementing? Would you like to take action now? As Tony Robbins said, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Unless you act upon the knowledge you gained, you will gain nothing. Okay, imagine this. There's a person who read thousands of books but don't implement anything. And there's a person who did not read a book at all. What's the difference? There is nothing, right? So action is what makes the difference. Just do it! Whatever you learn from anything, could be a book or a video, try to implement it as soon as possible. Whenever I read something or see something, I implement it right away. Otherwise, I will not share it. Unless I get an experience from implementing the things I learned, there's no point in explaining or sharing with other people, right? You study a lot, you collect a lot of wisdom, but you don't put it into practice. Then you will become a collector, not an implementer. At the end of the day, most important part of the process is to actually live the ideas. So many people forget about that. So I encourage you to become the implementer but not the collector. So make sure that you comment one of the things that you have been keeping aside, even though you know that you have to implement, and commit right now by commenting that yes, I have been putting this aside and I will implement this now. Commit by commenting down that you're gonna implement that. So thanks guys for watching and you guys are awesome tackler. Yo!